All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Pfeiffer. Welcome to Conversations on Retail. We are so excited to have our friend Suzy Monford back to continue her series focused on people, planet, and profit, retailing's triple bottom line. And Suzy welcomes today Gina Acosta, editor-in-chief of Progressive Grocer. Just a few things before we get started. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Westrock Coffee, Cameron Smith and Associates, and Netcon V. Great partners of this series. We appreciate them so much. Just a reminder that this is intended to be a conversation and not a presentation. So those of you who are joining live, we hope that you will actively participate. And you can do that by clicking the Q&A button within Zoom and submitting your questions, your comments, offering any sort of insight in writing, as Suzy will address those as it is appropriate in the conversation. Last thing, opinions and recommendations expressed by Suzy and her guest are their own and not necessarily those of Conversations on Retail. So make sure that you always consider their suitability for your own circumstances. So with that, Suzy, thank you so much for being here today, and let's get started.
Thank you, Matt. And I always chuckle a little bit, Matt, when you cover that at the very end. The opinions expressed here, I feel like that's been a lot, the caveat in my career before anybody introduces me. I chuckle. Gina, I am so happy to welcome you. Thank you so much. You are wearing, as always, a million hats, and I'm so grateful and honored for you to take a few minutes of your time. So Gina Acosta, everyone, listen, I'll give a brief intro, and then I'd love for her to chat about herself because, first I should say, welcome to People, Planet, and Profit. This is a series of conversations that are dedicated to my premise and my belief that as business people, as community leaders, as champions of modern living today, I believe that everything, every company, every entity can be triple bottom line. We can champion, purposeful jobs that are more sustainable and that take care of people in holistic and vital ways. So I'm thrilled, Gina, to have you in this conversation. I just, you do so much for others, and you've created such a platform for other people, and particularly women in our industry, to have a voice. For everybody out there, I first met Gina, the famous Gina Acosta, when I was lucky enough to be awarded one of the top women in grocer awards when I was CEO of Andronico's Community Markets in San Francisco Bay Area. That was, I think it was 2015. I should have checked my own history. That's when I first got to meet Gina. But Gina is the editor-in-chief of Progressive Grocer, really the leading, in my view, the leading voice, one of the, if not then one of the top two leading voices in our industry in the United States. She's been running Progressive Grocer. Prior to that, she hailing from Florida. I'd love to hear any Floridian stories. She's had a really, really impressive journalistic track record. Something that's fascinating to me because, if I could go back and change my major, I majored in economics at University of Texas at Austin, so hook 'em. But I love journalism. I so respect it. The ability to capture what's actually happening and to give it and to narrate back a story in real time and make it relevant to different audiences, I think is a true calling and special gift. Gina spent years at the Washington Post and had an extremely successful career there. Also noted, and she's amongst her many, many accolades, she won the Nieman Award, the Nieman Foundation Award at Harvard. And you actually spent a year there, I think, Gina, teaching others. So I'd love to have you walk us all through a little bit more of your background and share some of that. Then today, you guys, in our conversation, we're going to cover three topics that I've selfishly really wanted to get to talk to Gina about. One, she's an avid traveler and she spent a super cool summer over in Europe. So I want to talk about that. She also constantly, and she'll say she's a geek for retail. So I'd love for her to share some of the retailing foraging story she came back from Europe with. And then we'll build up to, I really want to hear some hot takes on Impact, her conference that she held last week along with Top Women in Grocery. So that's enough for me. Gina, let's turn over to you. If you don't mind, go a little bit deeper into your background because I think it's really fascinating, not just as a journalist, but frankly, as someone who has created and maintains a voice for women out there in our industry.
Oh my gosh, Suzy. Thank you so much for that beautiful, beautiful introduction. I mean,
Well deserved.
thank you so much. So yes, I am a rare species. I was born and raised in Florida, and specifically in Miami, and I always wanted to be a journalist. So there I was, 5 years old in kindergarten, and creating little magazines to sell to my classmates in kindergarten. And the content was like food related or music related or culture related. I've always had that calling, as you so eloquently, explained. So, it's been an interesting ride for me. I feel like I am currently in my dream job, but let me just back up. So I obviously I went to school and I went to college and all that stuff. And I was focused on really, creating a career as a journalist. And I did that. I worked at all these newspapers like the Hartford Courant and the Miami Herald and the Washington Post, as you said, and the St. Pete Times and so many newspapers. And I worked with so many brilliant people. But I always wanted to sort of marry my love of retail and food, which is a big part of my culture, having grown up in Miami as part of a Cuban American family. Food is like a big deal for Cuban Americans and for many people, obviously, of course. So I always wanted to sort of marry, my love of journalism with my love of retail and my love of food. And eventually, after I was in college and I did that I think it was during my Washington Post years, I did that fellowship at Harvard, and that allowed me to really spend a lot of time at the Harvard Business School, specifically studying food marketing and food retail and agribusiness. And specifically, I spent a lot of time with the sort of father of disruptive innovation. His name was Clay Christensen. He actually passed away in 2020, unfortunately. It was a great, great loss, I think, for the human race, really. He was just a genius, and I spent a lot of time with him on, studying disruptive technologies and disruptive innovation. So that really sort of put me on this path to, focusing on a career specifically in food retail and grocery media. And in the 2010s, I started working in B2B publishing, focused on retail, focused on food retail specifically. And here I am today. And in my dream job.
Well, and you do it so well. And it seems like it's just part of you. I mean, you to me, I mean, you could go be CEO of a grocery company tomorrow. You're that steeped in all of it, and especially the people piece, right?
Yes. It has really been a privilege for me to steep myself in this industry, because this industry is so special. Every time I walk into a store and I talk to the people in a store, I become emotional, because they are so essential. They are part of the fabric of our communities. Everything that they do is so essential and so important. So I could not feel more honored and more privileged to work, to basically be steeped in the grocery industry day in and day out. And you talked a little bit about, how I sort of created my voice in this industry. Mm-hmm. And that's really been as a result of just going everywhere, showing up to everything. So going to stores all over the place, crisscrossing the country, going to as many store openings as possible, talking to as many people as possible, going to as many conferences as possible, just meeting as many people as possible in the industry and learning. And I am still learning. I as you said, I am a retail geek. I would put it more like I am a student of retail. I continue to be a student of retail, and I will always be a student of retail. I always have that learning mindset, that I need to keep learning. I need to keep learning. I need to keep learning. And I'm, last week when we had our big grocery impact event, I learned so much again. So, it's just, it's a constant thing. And, one of the things that was really important as I sort of, started my career in B2B retail media in the last 10 years, and went, through those ranks or whatever, and was named editor-in-chief of Progressive Grocer in January 2022, one of the things that really sort of left a mark in the industry for me was that I continued to go to stores and meet with people during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? The pandemic happened in March 2020, and, flights were canceled and shows were canceled and stuff like that. But you know what? Grocery stores continued to open.
That's
and
right.
grocers continue to operate. And they continue to have events in stores, believe it or not. And I went to I drove one day 11 hours from Tampa to Charlotte, North Carolina, or right outside of Charlotte, to a Wegmans store opening.
Wonderful.
11 hours straight. And I still, I'm still reaping the benefits of all of those things that I did during the pandemic when nobody else was out there going to stores and going and meeting with people in person. And yes, I was wearing a mask. But I'm still reaping the rewards and the benefits of all of those relationships that I created and nurtured during those times. So,
and you and I bonded in one of our conversations a couple of months ago, just, from my perspective, and probably it's a little selfish perspective, but I was never more proud to be a grocer than during pandemic. And the selfish side is I was so grateful every day that I had a way to give back. When pandemic started, I was at Kroger, a company I love and hold in my heart. And then I went to be CEO of PCC Community Markets, actually out in Seattle. I'm actually in Seattle for a few days working this week, so I'm at a co-working space. But it is difficult and challenging in 24 hours a day that it was. I was just grateful because at least I felt like I could do something, and give back. But so let's sort of start talking about a little bit of your summer. Now, I like to have my guests feel welcome. So I took some liberties and grabbed a couple of photos that would hopefully make you feel right at home, because as an avid traveler, I love nothing more than to travel and share the world. And I read that one of your favorite places is the 6th Arrondissement in Paris. And my pronunciation of French is so poor. So anyway, I thought I'd bring up a couple of photos to make you feel right at home. But tell us what this is. This is a Saint-Germain square, or help me with this.
I think that looks like the square in Saint-Sulpice, like near the Saint-Sulpice Church. It's very close to the apartment that I rent every year. I go to Paris most years. I didn't go during the pandemic, so I skipped 2 years, but most years I go and I stay in the same apartment, and it's in that area. And there's a cafe like to the right there that has the most amazing hot chocolate. French hot chocolate is otherworldly. It's thick. It's got huge dollops of whipped cream on top. It's incredible. So anyway, yes, I was there in September and October.
Wonderful. I think Matt's got a couple others we can click through. I grabbed some shot. I was Googling the 6th Arrondissement and just imagining what it would feel like to walk down this street. But does all these neighborhoods look like your old stomping grounds?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's close to the Café de Fior, a very, very famous cafe where I think Hemingway used to go have coffee and stuff like that. All the famous writers. And
A Movable Feast is one of my favorite novels. So I know you love to combine, travel and your grocer. I grabbed this, one of your posts, a few posts off of LinkedIn. So this is a Carrefour in Paris. It's just so interesting. Because we go around the world, but we're all so different. We're different, but we're the same. And that shoppers, and it looks like they were really focused on announcing lower prices and trying to battle the same inflationary pressures that we were here. So any other details you wanted to add, your thoughts about?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting how they have those, very, very specific call outs about being anti-inflation. Look, we know that prices are up, and we're actually using the word inflation in our promotions. And this is what we're, this is the promotion that we're running this week or whatever. So it's interesting. I haven't really seen in the US and any food retailer, any specific call outs using the word
The word
inflation,
inflation.
anti-inflation. Yeah. So, and they do it, in various ways. So it's not just like one anti-inflation sign. It's like, as you can see here, different kinds of signs all over the store.
So as we think, and for those who haven't been, and that's to Carrefour in France is one of the major retailers. I sort of liken it to, it would be like a Kroger.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so kind of middle of the road.
Right.
This looked really cool. This is a food hall at, now you said you're still working on your French, but I'm going to let you pronounce them. Montparnasse? Is it Montparnasse?
It is Montparnasse. Montparnasse. Gay. My French is terrible. Even though I go so frequently, my French is still terrible. So, but it's Montparnasse. Yeah. And it's a food court that's attached to a grocer, where there's all these different stations. So Lebanese station, fried chicken station, burger station, sushi station. And you do not order from, in person at the station. You actually order via QR code, so via your phone. So you scan the QR code at the station, you go and find a seat at a table, and then the workers, really the cooks / servers from each station bring you your food to your table.
It's so clever, and I love food halls. I'm actually working with a group of chefs, Michelin chefs, that are based in Austin, Texas, but they're building a brand new food hall in San Antonio at the historic Pearl. They're going to have 5 restaurants, 3 of which are going to be fast casual, 2 of which will be sort of full dining and fine dining. But they're also building a curated food market inside. So I'm working with them on the food bar. Anyway, but I love nothing more, and I see it more when I travel than I do here in the States of this type. So anyway, I really love that post.
Awesome. Let me just mention one thing. I was at my event last week, and someone did a presentation. It was Interstore Schweitzer, that grocery design firm. I think they're based in Italy. They did a presentation at our event, and they talked about how I believe that there's a German grocer. I think it was German. It could have been UK. I'm not sure. That just got a Michelin star for their in-store restaurant. It's the only retail food service operation with a Michelin star. So something for you.
I need to look that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Something to look up here. Yeah.
If you think about it, if you're in a supermarket, especially if it's a quality supermarket, you've got the best ingredients in the world, hyper fresh right there. So that's one thing I love. I mean, I started my supermarket career with HEB Central Market, and I came out of the restaurant business. So for me, it's second nature to create restaurant quality and very good restaurant quality prepared meals inside a supermarket. And yet so many times it's just, whatever people will eat. But I love that. I love the notion of striving for a Michelin star inside a supermarket. This was really interesting to me because here you're calling out some technology at Monoprix.
Right. So this was very interesting because, first of all, a lot of the European grocers are doing a lot with ESLs, with electronic shelf labels, and they're doing a lot with digital rails. As you can't see here, but that's a digital rail, Jack Daniels there in the middle, in the center. But one of the most interesting things that they're doing is, so let's say the consumer goes to the shelf and the product is not there. It's out of stock, whatever. The consumer can actually scan the ESL. There'll be a QR code on the ESL, and they can scan the QR code and have the product, which is out of stock on the shelf, delivered or ready for pickup later. So it's a really nice omni feature that I saw a lot of there in Europe.
I absolutely love it. And what you would not know, and obviously we didn't pre-plan this. This company is called SES Amagatag, SES Fusion.
Right.
No. So I do some work with them. They're actually a sponsor of Conversations on Retail.
Oh, cool.
The digital rails, but SES is the global leader in ESLs. Those digital rails is one of their companies called Engage. And you're absolutely right. You can do obviously the brand can advertise and give messaging. But to your point, it's omnichannel. I can scan that and it's seamless shopping. And it's just interesting. The Europeans are really far ahead of us here in the US on adoption of technology. But anyway, I was really pleased to see that.
And SES does a lot of cool stuff with end caps, just big digital signs on end caps with promotions that are really cool. So sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No. I just think it's fascinating. I would love to walk a store with you. I think we're going to be looking at some of the same things. Then I've read a few of your posts about Amazon. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts about Amazon in general, but here's some, and you can click through on Matt if you like, but of this one in it's a suburb of London, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very close to the Tate Modern Museum, that one. And it's one of the newly refreshed, Amazon brought over Tony Hoggett from Tesco a couple of years ago to sort of reimagine its grocery strategy. And he's been doing that for the past couple of years. And one of the things that they've been doing is refreshing their Amazon Fresh stores in London. They've also been closing some stores in the US and doing other things. But anyway, so very interesting features of this store was, a lot of, ready meals, grab and go, a lot of focus on value, portable value, a lot of focus on convenience, which is, another aspect of value, I guess, right? And just a lot of QR codes everywhere and that just walk out technology that Amazon is famous for.
Was the store very heavily shopped when you were there?
No, I wouldn't say. When I went, I would say that there were just a few shoppers in there, So not very heavily shopped. I would say no indications of that.
And I know it's sort of the way these stores shop. It's sort of zip in, zip out, so you don't always see a crowd. I'm also curious. I think this might be the last Amazon photo that we have. When you're over there in the UK, staying on that just for a second, what's your impression of Pret-a-Manger? Because when I see Amazon trying to do that fast grab and go, honestly, Pret-a-Manger to me, no one does what they do better than they do. But any impressions?
I absolutely love Pret-a-Manger, and I try to always get one of those sandwiches when I'm in Europe. I agree with you. They do an amazing job at grab and go, and everything always tastes really fresh. And they make a big point of, calling out all over the store that it's made in-house, that it's made, at that location or whatever. And their customer service is usually pretty good. So totally agree. They do a great job.
They do a lovely job, and they're growing across the U.S. It's funny, when I was working for Woolworths in Australia, one of the projects I was running, we tried to bring Pret into Australia on behalf of Woolies and sort of build Pret-a-Manger into some of our big new Woolworths stores. So we had I was going back and forth from Sydney to London a fair bit and chatting with them. Which I loved working on the project. It did end up turning out, but I just have a lot of respect. And so I know that Pret is here on the East Coast and starting to grow across the United States. But anyway, I just love that. Okay, so we're building to the most important topic today, really the impact, which you're hot off the heels of running. So how did it go? So maybe just give us an overall impression of the event. And it's great marketing for next year, and I will be there. And then I'd love to talk to you about Top Woman in Grocery. But how was Impact?
So our Impact event was awesome. It was very, very, very well attended. The feedback that we have gotten has been incredible. It was 3 days of just nonstop, inspiration and empowerment and learning. And the vibe was really, really awesome. Just good vibes. It's not your typical trade show or conference. It's really part celebrating the industry and part, learning. And it was just fantastic. We had amazing speakers like, the president of Lowe's Foods, who was, Tim Lowe is incredible. Tim Lowe is just incredible. He's, when you go to a session that Tim Lowe is speaking at, it's like going to church. It's like the Church of Grocery. He is like a grocery evangelist. I could just sit there and listen to the guy every day. He was incredible. We had the CEO of Whole Foods, who talked a little bit about Amazon, not a lot, but a little bit. The president of the giant company. We had top executives from Brookshire Grocery Company and so many others. It was awesome.
Nice. Well, this next slide, I know you had a fireside chat with Tim Massa.
Yes.
Love Tim. I mean, for those folks, I think know me, but I love my time at Kroger. I was hired in first to be president of QFC out here in Seattle, where I am today. And then I was a group vice president of fresh foods and moved to Cincinnati. And I got to see Tim all the time then and sort of work more hand in glove. And then later ran e-commerce. But as we think about and maybe let's just chat a little bit about I'd love to hear your views on diversity now in our industry. But I really look to Kroger, and not just Tim, but Tim as the leader, but Kroger as a company that's, when I think about triple bottom line, and I'm not, it's not that it's easy, but triple bottom line means we really advocate for people and all people, and that it means diversity. And we take care of the planet. We're sustainable, et cetera. I'll just stay on my Kroger commercial for a second. As a president of Kroger, I was given full autonomy, and I was super proud. I was able to eliminate the use of single-use plastic bags in the entire state of Washington. And wow. Kroger not only said, okay, you could do it, they said, great, well, how can we help? Was able to champion some of that, was able to champion indoor agriculture and bringing indoor farms into the United States on behalf of Kroger, which they use 90% less water, and they don't need soil, and it's the safest food in the world. But it's the people piece, the diversity piece. I haven't done the stats, but I would imagine Kroger's probably promoted more diverse leaders, and particularly women, in our industry than anybody else. And so I love the fact that you got to sit down and talk to Tim. But what was your thoughts on the conversation, key takeaways, and things you want to share with us?
So I forgot to mention that the theme of our conference or our event last week was the power of people. And Tim took that theme and just sort of ran with it. I mean, he was all about, how important the associate is at Kroger. And just rewinding back a little bit, Kroger, it's hard for me to put into words, how much Kroger means to me and to Progressive Grocer. They are a huge supporter of all of our events, and they really go all out in celebrating and supporting their associates by sending so many of their associates to our events. And that just means so much to us. So, but, about the conversation with Tim, he was all about, everything that they're doing to support the associate. So from, mental well-being to financial tools, to career development, to technologies that help associates, do their jobs better. So it was really an amazing conversation. He is a brilliant guy, and just a nice guy too. And that's really the case with so many of the leaders at Kroger. They're just really nice, wonderful people, kind of like you, Suzy, kind of like you. He was just wonderful. I can't say enough good things about him. So, they have absolutely done a lot for diversity, and they continue to do that. And that is a priority for them. They really do an awesome job. And he talked a little bit about this, of creating people champions. Mm-hmm. They have this whole, sort of people champion program. And what else did he talk about? People champions. And really, he talked about how it's okay for an associate to not be okay. So, in this sort of interesting, environment that we're in, where, there's some violence going on, there's some theft going on in stores, there's, they've had a couple of mass shootings in Kroger stores. He really talked a lot about how it's okay for a Kroger associate not to be okay. And all the tools that they're sort of empowering their associates with to not be okay and get to being okay eventually, So it was a great conversation.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that. We could probably nerd out and talk about Kroger the whole time. I mean, Kroger obviously right now is even more in the news because of the merger with Albertsons.
Yep.
gosh, obviously I have a little a biased perspective and a positively biased perspective because I know how Kroger treats people. Yeah. I know the autonomy and that I was given as a president and then later as a group vice president to take care of my folks. I worked hand in glove with Tim and his team on rolling out things like, I'm sorry, but we live in a modern world, active shooter training and every other thing we did to take care of our teammates. Right. But then all the fun stuff. When we rolled out college tuition assistance, when we announced that, I was still president out at Quality Food Centers. And it wasn't just another program with the slide deck and the meeting. Probably 2 or 3 months into it. And I got a call from Tim and Tim's office. Suzy, I see that you guys have only signed up like 2 employees or something. Like the personal outreach, because we are all so excited to offer this to all of our associates as a ladder up to help them build their career. So it wasn't just, hey, let's just roll out a program because it looks good and it sounds good. This is central and core to how Kroger sustains the talent that it grows internally, but how it gives back to communities. So anyway, so good on them. And obviously I wish Tim and the entire Kroger team really well. So talk about, you've now had Top Women in Groceries, how many years old?
So this year or last week at Grocery Impact, Grocery Impact is a 3-day event, but it includes our Gen Next Awards programming and ceremony, and also our Top Women in Grocery Awards and Gala. And we celebrated its 17th year. So the 17th year of Top Women in Grocery last week was celebrated.
Wow. Yeah. This might be a hard, difficult question. As you think about the span of the last 17 years, have you seen a change in the women's leaders' attitudes or hopes or dreams or aspirations, or how are they feeling? Have you seen any changes across this block of leaders?
It seems to me like every year they're just more excited and optimistic and, ready for the next thing, ready to innovate and ready to just, help this industry get to the next level kind of thing. And, as the program has, gone on, it has just grown and grown and grown over the last 17 years. So, and I'm sure it'll grow again next year. And we just love the twig aspect of our, 3-day event, and the gala was incredible. And, it's something that actually needs to be talked about, right? Top Women in Grocery. So what does that mean? Last week, when we had our gala, we honored 2 trailblazers. We honored Hanneke Faber of Unilever as our CPG trailblazer. And then we also honored Donna Tweeten, who was the president at Hy-Vee. And actually, Donna Tweeten's speech, her acceptance speech for her Trailblazer Award, was just fantastic. Because, she started out by saying, well, do we still really need Twig? Do we still really need a Top Women in Grocery program or an award or a Trailblazer Award or whatever? And she was like, you know what? Yes, we do. We do. We still need it because there's not enough women leaders, especially at the C-level. In the grocery industry still, there just isn't. And, during the pandemic, we lost a lot of women. Some of them have come back. Some of them have come back to the workforce, but a lot of them have not. And we lost 2 or 3 years of those women, sort of like climbing the ladder to get into those C-level type positions. So there's collateral damage from that. And that means that we have to continue to put a spotlight on women's leadership in the grocery. And I'm sure you have many opinions about this.
Well, I completely agree. I'm wondering, though, with the pandemic in mind, is the conversation that you're hearing, is it because of lack of access to childcare that's kept more women out of the workforce? Or
Yes. Lack of access to childcare, lack of flexibility when it comes to scheduling. There's been a return to the office, for a lot of people or a lot of companies. So that's put some women, at a disadvantage. So all of that.
Yeah, because I know nationally, that's one of the macro socio pressures that women experience far more than men because generally speaking, they're the caretaker.
Right.
And as we streamline as we streamline and get more efficient in how we run these companies, there may be a layer of not entry-level management. Once you get beyond the department level management in our business, then you've really got to be able to run a store.
Yes.
And to your point, that's when the scheduling conflicts really come in. And I think women are bearing the brunt of that more than they had been pre-COVID. So you've got to really be able to affect some scheduling, standardization to enable women to still hold on to those jobs and progress their career.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how many women that I meet because, this is the first, even though we're honoring them and we've given them an award and we've notified them previously, it's the first time for us to sort of meet face to face. And, they all tell me that they're, taking care of their kids, taking care of their husband, running stores, doing executive MBAs, I mean, the amount of stuff that they're doing is mind-boggling. It's just mind-boggling to me. So
yeah,
they need all the help and recognition that they can get.
Yeah. But we need to keep the pipeline. We need to keep the pipeline growing so that we can envision. So I think you said it. And I've reached out to a couple of organizations to maybe do some data collection so we can back this up. But there are fewer women today. There are fewer women's president and CEOs.
Yes.
When you talk about non-chain companies, and there are fewer C-suite.
Right.
So as I consider my next role, I want to enable. One of the reasons I'm going to take another role is because I love running the business. But equally, I really want to make sure that I'm doing all I can to help promote and be a conduit for other diverse leaders.
Exactly. Right. You have to, or I guess I should say, I thank you for wanting to do that, to pick up that mantle and
I love it. I love it. I'll just share one quick little story. I mean, we could, and I'm always really careful because I respect everyone who steps forward to be part of our industry because it's not easy. It's extremely challenging. I think of it as a food sport because you have to engage. You have to get up every day. You have to think, okay, great. What went really well yesterday? What didn't go so well? How do I need to change my game plan or my go-to-market strategy? How do I need to reinvent myself as a leader or as a coach? And sometimes it's of other people. Sometimes it's as my own coach. What do I need to continue to learn and grow so I become a better communicator and leader? So I think of it as a food sport, which is hence the name of my consultancy.
Right.
So it's not easy. But I see it's not just our industry that's struggling. And I think a lot of this too, that you brought up the most important factor, which I think is post-pandemic, women returning to work is just lagging behind men. But sidebar, that's tangentially it's a small example, but as a woman leader, things that I'm looking out for today, I'm always looking for ways that I can be of help service. I am on the executive board of the University of Texas Economics School because I majored in economics there.
Right.
I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was myself, one other woman, and I think 34 men. And that's the composition of the advisory council.
Right.
Part of this advisory council was we had two female students there, current students who were coming to talk about a couple of organizations that they run inside the School of Economics. Anyway, long story very short, without calling out any names or anything else, and everybody's just trying to get some good work done. But the agenda was going well past time, well over time, so much so, and no one was keeping time on these male speakers. They were just going on and on and on. And a couple of times, like, oh my gosh, am I over? Okay, well, I'll just finish my point. So they would end up going 10, 12, 13 minutes over their allotted. When the young gals got up to present, all of a sudden, the timekeeper, all of a sudden was like, okay, hey, we just need you to do that one thing that you were supposed to have 10 minutes, but can you do it in 2 because we're over? And myself and the other female leader in the room, a member, we raised our hand. I said, no, actually, I'd really love to hear what these folks have to say. And it all ended up. And then after we ended up gathering as a group and I talked to the moderator. I said, listen, I love you. And maybe that was just a knee jerk. I don't know. But do you realize this entire organization exists to promote students. And it was going well long, and no one said anything until these two young gals. And anyway, I'm not going to make a bigger deal. But as a female leader, our job, I think, is to be extra sensitive and looking and listening for opportunities to to correct a situation, even if it wasn't in malintended, which it wasn't, I'm sure, but also to show the example to this new generation. Hey, it's okay to advocate for yourself, to speak up for yourself. Anyway, I don't know if that rings true for you, but
yeah. We women, we grow up, sort of being taught not to speak up and to be scared, and it's awful. It's awful. And you have to speak up. You can't be scared. And that's actually one of the themes at Grocery Impact last week. A lot of people talked about, you can't be scared. And a lot of women leaders talked about that because women are still scared. So yeah, definitely rings true.
I think it's scared of having given off the wrong impression or being, unlikable or disagreeable.
Right.
There's like many things can be true at once. You can be strong and confident and competent and friendly, but you can still advocate for yourself and all of those things.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that.
No. That's a great story. And the last thing I just wanted to say was, we continue to want to grow. Like I said before, Top Woman in Grocery. This year we launched a podcast. We're looking at launching, some exclusive content around Twig and possibly maybe a membership community of some kind. So it's something that we're going to just continue to, as long as the industry, is more and more engaged with it, we're going to continue to grow it. So.
Have you thought about, because I love the annual recognition, but to your point, is there a opportunity to have virtual conversations or or something throughout the year that people from all over the country are able to get together and share their thoughts?
Yeah, that is a fabulous idea. at one point I sort of had a Twig committee and we had meetings quarterly. So I'm thinking about doing not a committee, but, just something like that, like maybe quarterly meetings where top women, can get together and just brainstorm.
And share thoughts and ideas and topics.
Yep.
Well, so if people are out there, if they're interested in supporting Twig, Top Woman in Grocery,
right.
Is there a way to reach out and just say, hey, lend their voice or lend?
Yeah, absolutely. So they should definitely go to progressivegrocer.com and, navigate over to the Twig menu. There's like a menu that lists where you can find out more about Twig, or you can just reach out to me. My email address is gacosta@ensembleiq.com. And my mobile number is 813-417-41492. So.
Okay. Audience, thus far, the most courageous person giving out their mobile number.
I get texts. I am happy to get texts from anybody and emails from anybody. So
you're the hardest working person.
I'm good. I'm obsessed with this industry, Suzy. So
I love it.
There's no time off. There's no time off except I was going to say except when I go to Paris and to Europe, but no, actually, I'm not off then either because I'm going to the grocery store.
I was going to say, you told me, hey, Suzy, I'm going to be on holiday for a few weeks. But then I'm like following you on LinkedIn. I'm like, well, you're clearly not off. Okay. Two last quick things before I let you go.
Okay.
In general, trends and things that you see. If I were going to say, Gina, what are the top 2 or 3 trends shaping grocery industry in the United States?
Right.
Anything come to mind, or even if it's holiday centric?
Yeah. So last week at Grocery Impact, the CEO of Whole Foods Market, Jason Beekle, spent a lot of time talking about regenerative agriculture. And he actually called it also climate smart agriculture. So I think that, I hear more and more food retailers talking about this, doing more things to help regenerate to help the planet. Right. They're good for regenerative soil and ag and all that stuff. And I think it's not just because it's good for the bottom line, but it's also something that consumers want to see retailers doing. So he talked a lot about that. Automation is, going to continue to explode in the industry as, retailers just look for ways to maximize operational efficiencies amid, continued labor shortages. Self-checkout is interesting. There's a lot of, consumer backlash with self-checkout now, as, has sort of proliferated over the past few years. I don't know where we're going with that. There's a lot of theft going on at self-checkout. Consumers don't like it. They're confused by it. A lot of, self-checkout stands are not super consumer or user friendly. So I don't know where we're going to go with that, but it's an interesting thing. Go ahead. No. I was going to say I have lots of thoughts on that, but go ahead.
Oh,
okay. Retail media. We talked a lot about retail media grocery impact last week. It's projected to be a $100 billion industry by 2026. And, more and more grocers are launching retail media networks to sort of, do all of that targeted advertising to the consumer across all different kinds of platforms. And, not just online, but in store. In store is going to become more and more important when it comes to retail media.
Big stuff.
What else?
Love it.
AI. We talked a lot about AI. Grocers are doing a lot with AI to help shoppers, to personalize offers for shoppers and to personalize the shopping experience for the consumer. And I think that more and more grocers like Kroger, like Walmart, are going to be leveraging AI going forward, in the next 3 to 5 years.
I love it. And I'm all for it because it's not going to take away jobs. I think of artificial intelligence. I think of AI as scaling my HI, my human intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a world, if I think about it just as being a merchant, you know what merchants love to do? Merchants love to curate super cool assortment. What's new, right. What's next, what's cool, and all that. We like to curate assortment. We like to design planograms and design stores. We like to design go-to-market strategies. But today, we spend so much time as a merchant team on supply chain management and inventory management and shrink management. All of that can fall under a merchant, which is the science of it, but the artistry of being a merchant can sometimes take a back seat. But with AI can do the heavy lift in some of these redundant manual processes that are not necessarily value added. And I think put the joy back in being a merchant, which is why I love working with all the technology. But anyway, okay, super cool. All right, here's your last question. It's very controversial. I don't want to.
Okay.
Okay. As a Cuban American,
yes,
that loves Paris, who does coffee better, the Parisians or the Cubans?
Oh, definitely the Cubans. Yeah.
not even a
yeah. I coffee is something that I don't really like in France, actually.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It's not I'm used to Cuban espresso, and Cuban espresso is very, very, very strong and actually kind of thick. And when I order an espresso in France, it's watery. It's like
I can see the headline now. Gina says, Cuban strong, French weak. We're going to start a whole battle. I love it.
I actually take my own Cuban espresso with me. Okay.
Maybe that's an idea. Maybe as a side hustle, you could sell Cuban beans in Paris next time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't think of, I guess that's fair. I think the Italians obviously do a far better job.
Oh, the Italian coffee is a completely different story. Yes, the Italian coffee is amazing. They do a better job than the Cubans. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You threw your people under the coffee bus, but that's okay. Gina, you are such a delight. It's just lovely to get to talk to you and hear, you spend so much of your time, obviously, talking to others and sharing their point of view. It's lovely to hear from you directly. And honestly, I'm sure, I don't know how often you hear it, but thank you sincerely for what you do on behalf of Twig, but also the voice that Progressive Grocer lends, because, I've been on different sides of articles and things, but all I can ever say is it's fair, it's relevant, it's always very well written. You guys are covering a lot of bases in a time that's not easy to do it, in an industry that is morphing and changing every day. So
it is.
Super. Hats off to you, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much, Suzy. You are a grocery industry icon, and I cannot wait to see, what's next for you, all the things you're going to do next.
Well, I need to do well because I want to be I know not many people have gotten 3 twigs, so I've got 2. So just need one
we
more.
need you in the Hall of Fame. We need you in the Hall of Fame. So,
Oh my gosh, I'd love it.
Yep.
Right. Well, you are fabulous. For everybody, we are going to post this live. You'll be able to live stream it whenever on LinkedIn by the end tonight. It's also going to be on YouTube and promoted on YouTube and Spotify, our very first broadcast that's going to be on Spotify. So you're going to get Gina multimedia channel. So we love it. But Gina, happy Thanksgiving. I hope to talk to you very, very soon and have a wonderful rest of the week and holiday season.
Thank you so much, Suzy. Thank you. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And happy Thanksgiving, Matt. I don't know where you are, but
the man behind the curtain.
Okay.
Have a great rest of the day. Cheers.
You too. Bye.